All right, so class, now we've hit the 315, and so now I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. Now again, the directions tell you that you can take it and put it in a little bit of cool water until it starts to cool down and all the bubbles dissipate. So I'm just going to leave it sitting over to the side for a little bit. And so I'm setting this on marble, okay? And so while I'm setting it on marble, then the coolness from the marble is going to cool the syrup. And so as you can take a look here, you can see that the syrup is cooling down. And so now I'm going to leave my thermometer in there. And so it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to come around and I'm going to get a closer look into the bowl for you. So see how that's cooled down? Okay, and so it stopped bubbling. So now let me come back here. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn off my heat source. I'm going to set this back on top of the heat source. And so this is very important here, guys. So you want to be able to double glove. So let me grab some gloves real quick. And so I'm going to step right here. And so when I tell you to double glove, that means put on 2 pair of gloves when you're working with sugar. Again, you have to respect the sugar. If you don't respect the sugar, it's going to burn you up. It's going to tear you up. It is not a good thing at all to have. And so now I put on the first set of gloves. Now I put on the second set of gloves. And so with all of the different things that are going on with COVID now, you should be able to find the little latex rubber gloves at any place around. So remember, you want, for this particular part, you want to double glove it because the sugar will give you one of the most severe burns that you can ever get, okay? So we want to make sure, again, I want to repeat that again one more time. The sugar burn is the worst burn you can get in the kitchen because it will pull the skin off immediately. As soon as that hot sugar hits your skin, it will tear you up, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and work with our little nest, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sugar. And so as you can see, it has a nice drizzle to it, okay? And so the most important thing about this is stringing it. So as you take a look there, you can see that it's getting real stringy like a spider web. And you really have to make sure that you string it a lot. So as I'm flicking it real heavily. So you can see that how it's starting to look like a spider web. So again, I let it drizzle just a little bit, and I'm really going at it. Look, I'm going at it really hard. So you have to flick it very hard again, so that it will create this web, and it's gonna be nice and stringy for you, okay? I'm gonna put this one over to the side, and so now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my nest, and I'm just going to lightly roll it around. So the other thing that you have to look out for is the humidity. The humidity with what's going on in your kitchen is going to be a big part of what you have. So as you can see, I have a bird's nest right here. Okay, so now I'm going to set this one over to the side. And so now I finished with that demonstration. I'm going to move this out of the way. And so now I'm going to come over and I'm going to get ready to dip my strawberries, okay? So I take my strawberries, they're nice and dry. I'm gonna tilt my pan over to the side just a little bit, and I let the excess come off as it's starting to cool down, okay? And so now I'm gonna go ahead and place this on my parchment. Okay, so that was my first strawberry. And so now the thing about it is you want to do it while it's still warm so that you don't get this super hard candy shell. You want a nice even coating on there. You want it to be nice and thin. You don't want to have a jaw breaker where it's breaking your jaw. because it has so much sugar on it and it sat there and it hardened on you. That's why we're doing all of our delicate work first, okay? So I'm dipping my strawberries. I made my bird's nest. And then we're going to work on our nuts. Okay, so again, see how I'm taking that and just letting it drizzle off. And I want the excess to stay there. Okay, and so now I'm going to set this one down. So that's my second strawberry. So now I want to see how much has it cooled down. So now I want to work on my nut. And so now, this is where I want it to cool down a little bit. So now I'm just letting it drizzle. And as you can see right here, it's starting to make a nice little tail. And so that's the purpose of this one, is to be able to make a tail from your nut. Okay. So I'm going to set this down. Let it go that way. I'm going to grab one more of my nuts. Okay. So I let that drizzle down just a little bit. So it's still a little bit on the warm side. So you want it to get to where it cools just a little bit more so that your tail becomes a little bit thicker. And you guys see the tail that's on there? Look, I'm going to hold it up higher. Look at that. See how that's drizzling down? So it has a nice tail on it. Okay? So now I'm going to put this one here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and dip the rest of my strawberries because I want my syrup to cool down just a little bit more so that my tail is a little bit thicker than what it's coming out now. Okay? So again, I'm taking my strawberry, I'm dipping it in while it's still nice and warm, and then I'm letting the excess syrup fall back into the pan. And so I let most of the sugar drip off. Okay. So now I'm going to set this there. And like I said again, since it's still nice and warm, again I'm going to take it, tilt it to the side so that I can get a really nice dip in there. So the warmer that it is, the thinner the coat will be. And so remember, when we get to the nuts, we want it to cool down just a little bit more so that it'll have a bigger tail on it. Okay, so here's my next one. And so now you can kind of tell. So as I'm going through and I'm working on it, hopefully you guys can see it, but you can see the tails that I'm starting to create. You guys see that? Look at that. And so that's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to do one more strawberry, and then I should be cool enough that I can get a thicker tail on it. And so remember, again, I can't stress to you guys how important it is to make sure you double glove it. Remember, the sugar burn is going to be one of the most devastating burns that you can get. Believe me, I know, the hard way. And I'm trying to teach you guys not to learn the hard way because the hard way hurts a lot. Okay? So now I'm going to go back to the nuts. And so it's cooled down a little bit more. And so now I'm just going to take it. And then as you can see, it's dripping down. So I'm going to dip it one more time. And so now I'm able to lay that out so that you can start to see the tail forming. Okay, so now as we take a look, our temperature is at the hardball stage, which is about 270, 70-ish, somewhere along in there. So we can tell that our sugar is starting to cool down. Okay, so the next thing that I want to show you guys is the corkscrew. Okay, so on the corkscrew, remember I went ahead and I coated this small dowel with oil, and so now I'm going to take my simple sugar, and the most important part about this is just letting it ooze right on there, and it's going to probably take you a couple of tries at it so that you turn it as it's falling on there, and you're creating a nice single. Alright, so as you can see, this first one, it's hardening up enough, but I have to go a little bit slower so that I can get a nice corkscrew appearance on there. So I'm going to come along, I'm going to let this drip just a little bit. I'm checking the consistency of it. So I'm letting it cool down just a little bit more. And so you want this just to ooze on there so that it will